Welcome to Change Cycle, the podcast exploring the shift to a circular economy. Join host Christine Yeager as she dives into sustainable business actions with leading experts and confronts the discomfort that comes with change. Discover how change is at the center of optimizing recycling and creating a regenerative future. Tune into Change Cycle and be part of the solution.
Today, I'm interviewing Brandon Lapsys. He's helped build Viably from an equipment distributor into an integrated processing solution company, which means he sits at the exact point where sustainability strategy turns into a capital expenditure someone has to sign off on. His background spans municipal solid waste, organics, food waste, and these are all streams where recyclable is a function of what a specific facility can economically sort, not what a design guideline says. He's working with companies to really bring through solutions to waste diversion challenges. In our discussion today, we talk about how to lead through change, how to lead through helping companies change, and how to consider your employees as you're growing. All right. Thank you so much for being here, Brandon. I'm super excited for this conversation. And as always, just like to start off with, how do you live with intention?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Christine. I'm looking forward to being here today. How do you live with intention? Try and do the right thing. And I tell my team, I've used this phrase in many of our town halls. If you take care of the days and make each day a good day, all of a sudden you have a good week. And if you take care of the weeks, you have a good month. And then eventually you've had a good quarter. And before you know it, as fast as all of our lives move, the year is gone. So take care of the days, start with each day, and just have some basic goals. And even if it's a simple to-do list of what you want to achieve each day, and try and do it with, your family in mind, your people in mind, and in the company you work in or work for, and the environment around you. It sounds very simple, and oftentimes people try and make it harder than it is.
Yeah, it feels hard, I think, sometimes. So it's a really good reminder. Take care of the days. I love that because sometimes I always feel, well, not sometimes, a lot of times I feel like I haven't done enough in a day or in a week. So taking a moment to kind of step back and recognize that, I think, is a great reminder. So thank you. Do you want to share a little bit about Viably, what you all do?
Sure. So Vively is based in Denver, Colorado. We're predominantly a master distributor in the waste and recycling industry, and we provide tailored solutions for our customers and clients, which range from small private companies to large public waste companies, municipal entities. And we help folks in a number of different ways with different waste streams. We'll provide equipment for composting, equipment to be used in landfills, transfer stations. We can help you with a single waste stream and a problem on how to solve it, how to process it, sort it, separate it. Or we can design a purpose-built waste treatment plant, for example, for construction and demolition waste. If you have a large volume of that waste stream and you want to know the best way to process it, recover all the recyclable commodities in that waste stream, and ultimately divert from landfill, we can help with that too. So we're very active in the waste space across the US and Canada.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. So we did some prep work, and even though you just shared a lot about the waste stream, you started out talking about the importance of investing in people, and that especially when we're faced with an uncertain economy, the talent can be the place to start to help avoid or improve that uncertainty. So what does that investment actually look like when budgets are tight? And then how do you protect it when the pressure is on?
Yeah, great question. It's easier said than done. So we've grown here at Viably, and we've had people come, people go. We try and make great hiring decisions. You don't always get it right. No one does. we talked a lot about this in our most recent quarterly as a leadership team, and just needing to spend more quality time with the people in our organization very early on, because we're in a fast moving world. Technology is constantly changing. Our industry that we participate in is constantly changing. So, really trying to do our best in bringing our folks along, helping them understand our business, why our customers do what they do, what it means when a customer's facility is not operating because we either can't get them apart, we can't provide them service fast enough. I think when you really focus on that early on and in the first year of someone's employment with us, the goal is to have long-term tenured folks. We also are very open to and invest a lot in continuing education. One of our core values is evolving, and I'm a lifelong learner. I want all of the folks here to be a lifelong learner, whether it's taking a free course offered by a supplier, a vendor, a customer, or something that's more regimented over a longer period of time. We like to invest a healthy percentage of our dollars in developing our folks here. And I think when you do that, you also create great recruits. Some of our best people here today have come from employee networks in different walks of life and from different industries. And I think what's special about the waste and recycling industry is once you get into it and you find your niche or you find your space within the industry, within the company you work for, it tends to suck you in for life, and you have a lot of fun doing it. So trying to cultivate new young people to come into this industry is also a focus of ours. And I don't think the war for talent or talent scarcity will get any easier in future.
No, I don't think so either. It's true, it does kinda suck you in once you start, talking recycling. I always say it kinda gets nerdy quick.
It does, yeah.
So, when you launched Viably, you said that in some cases you had to keep the fire stoked constantly. Can you walk me through what that looked like on the hardest day? Because in sustainability and circular economy, a lot of times it can feel like it's hard to move forward, and being able, like, to focus on what's driving you, what the passion is a real skill I think you have to develop in this space.
Yeah, so we launched Viably. It'll be 3 years ago this September, and we had a number of great legacy employees that operated under our prior flag and brand, and it's a huge shift and change to operate under a different brand, different colors, and the whole idea was to operate under a different way of thinking, to become a larger solution provider for the industry, find different brands and partners to represent and bring more to our customers. And it's building a brand and building a DNA and a culture within that brand takes, years. It's not something you do in 1 year or 2 year or 3 years. And I would say we've even done an okay job we could have done and can do a better job of continuing to build our brand awareness and our DNA and ultimately what we're doing in the industry to be that solution provider that helps folks further their circular goals within their business or contribute to their piece of the circular economy. And yeah, I guess I'll end there. I don't know if that answer was landed well or fell flat.
No, I think when you're building a culture, what was sort of the hardest part of building a new culture, in this space, and, like, what do you think has resonated with your employees?
Yeah, I mean, culture is something you have to work on every day. What I've shared with my folks for a number of years is it's journey with no destination, and it's a sword that you have to constantly keep sharp. I'd like to give the samurai reference. A samurai is only as good as their sword, and if their sword isn't sharp, they aren't going to be very effective. Well, our brand and our company can only be effective if we constantly build on and work on our culture. And not all days are easy, because when you're dealing with people and personalities and trying to constantly introduce change that you think is better for the organization, better for your customers, better for the environment, it's hard work to get people to go on that journey with you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I think I've noticed a lot of people love recycling. Absolutely love it. They're like, yeah, recycling's so great. And a lot of people don't trust recycling, don't trust that things are going to go where they should go. And so then it can be hard to get them to participate, right? They're like, I like
Hmm.
the idea of it. I used to feel really good about it, but now I learn that whatever fact they learned. So that sort of derailed them and now they're not interested. Do you find
You're
that and have you sort of addressed that in your work?
Yeah, you're 100% right, Christine. I mean, a lot of people are skeptical. What happens to the stuff that goes to the curb when I put my garbage can out on Sunday night? That's one of the things we're trying to do. And just in my early time spent with employees here in their first 3 to 6 months, just educate them more broadly on, well, recycling is a good thing. This is what happens to it when it leaves your curb. Here's the challenges along the way. And here's the markets that exist and can be further developed for recycled content. I think a big opportunity to continue to improve today is start with young kids as early as elementary school. And why do we recycle? What is recycling? What are materials around you every day that you can recycle? Because there's a lot of adults that are, my age or older generations that they don't really have any thought for other than I just need to put my garbage out every week or my recyclables out every week and it's leaving and then magic happens. There's so much more that goes into it.
Yeah, for sure. Especially the end market, right? Like, I think that's one of the things that Extended Producer Responsibility is trying to create is a push towards responsible end markets.
Mhm.
And you shared that that's can be a core friction in the circular economy. So where do you think that the biggest gap is in markets? And where do you think change needs to happen?
Yeah, it's definitely, you can build the fanciest, most advanced recycling plant in the world, but if the end markets don't exist, what's the point of trying to take the commodities that are recyclable out of the waste stream? I think a big friction point for the industry is there's not great alignment sometimes or oftentimes even today with policy versus processing versus solution providers like ourselves. You can have policy, but you also have to give a good opportunity for haulers or waste processors that are looking for the latest technology to recover more and recycle more, an opportunity to put those recyclables back into the market. There's also lots of competing interests, whether it's alternative energy is competing with clean biomass that existed in more prevalence in certain geographic regions of the US. There's lots of examples, and I think there's also, again, lack of understanding. There are great end markets here in the United States, and we also have to be committed to leveraging those end markets, even if it costs us a little more, as opposed to, hey, I can send certain part of my waste stream offshore. Getting policy and producers and recyclers all aligned on keeping finished product here in the US and continuing to develop robust end markets, I think will further the circular economy's goals and keep more out of landfill. And it's going to have to happen because there's going to be less and less landfills in the next 10 to 20 years. So the waste will have to get processed.
Any examples of like how you've been able to find new and innovative end markets in the United States?
There's constantly customers that we work with looking for new end markets, whether it's different biomass markets in the construction and demolition waste stream. We have a customer that recycles windmill blades, which is a huge problem. There's not a lot of end markets. He developed a new structural product for that waste stream. I think when you put people together and you start to collaborate on different ideas of where materials can be used or reused and not necessarily let policy or red tape get in the way of that, you can open up more and more potential markets for materials. And I think it comes back to science, a bit of science, a bit of data, not anchoring to this is how we've done it for so long, or here's the law and the legislation or the policy or the procedure that was put in place so many years ago. We have to be open to trying things new, even if it means rewriting policy or procedure, or it's a new bill in the House or Senate of wherever you live.
Yeah. I was surprised to hear that sometimes the things that are sort of blocking advancement in this space is just like almost like you need to create a policy that just allows permission to do things. It doesn't just makes it no longer not allowed to do something in order to open the door for a whole new way of processing maybe compost or something like that, that sometimes these barriers are very minor and people don't even know that they're part of their city ordinances or what have you.
You're 100% right. There's a lot of barriers that exist because something was written into law decades ago, and people can't take the next step forward, and they see a path to getting where they think they can be with increased recycling rate, diversion from landfill, a better finished product. A big challenge right now in our industry, and has been for years, is the length of time it takes to get a permit. On one hand, you may have uh, a government authority that wants to see their constituents hit a certain recycling target, but they make it impossible to get there if it takes years to get a permit to build a facility to process the waste to hit the recycling target.
Yeah, exactly. It makes me think of like in Georgia. I used to live in Georgia. I now live in Colorado, but in Georgia, there's a big shift in the like the homebrew beer industry. They started
Hmm.
sort of advocating for changes just to make it more available to actually brew beer at home, and then that became a bigger market now. In Georgia, you see a lot more smaller beer operations like craft beers, and then there was also sort of this challenge where you weren't allowed to, like, sell food. I don't know, there's some weird thing about, like, just structural things that just sort of limited growth in an industry that the industry then band together to make a change so that the industry could grow. Um,
Hmm.
and I think you're seeing that come to life in Colorado as well. There's a lot of industry involvement in making a change to some of these seemingly unimportant structural barriers that become sort of crippling, right? Like, who would have thought that the permit length of time would sort of be the challenge, right? That makes it impossible to overcome.
I agree. I think you're seeing more advocacy groups, you're seeing more trade associations on behalf of their members, and the industry start to really do more. And I am encouraged that with some fresh perspective and some younger generations and some new blood coming into this industry, but also coming into government that helps put the policy and procedure in place, you're getting people to think differently and think beyond what was done in the past. So hopefully that means good things for recycling and increased recycling rates in the future.
Yeah. So, in the sustainability world and circular economy world, there's sometimes people that you sort of come into contact with, and it's you have to change their mind, right? And in our prep session, you shared that you try not to fight internal resistance, but yet there's, changes that you're driving, right? You're redirecting waste from where it was going before to a viable end market. Can you share some examples of, or just some guidance or advice on, how you change people's minds? What data points do you use to move a skeptical either person in the supply chain or customer or what have you?
Yeah, I think it starts with data. It starts with opening their eyes, and a specific case study that comes to mind is we worked with a customer who bought a pretty advanced C&D plant, and I mean it helped that he saw the future of landfills shrinking and or going away, and the airspace that he had becoming more and more valuable. Well, he started really thinking about the end markets and exploring where he could find homes for that material, and then combining our expertise in processing and helping that individual think through what is the plant or series of equipment I can put in in a plant and work together to ultimately achieve the goal of diverting from landfill, creating commodity ABC that could be potentially going into either established end markets and some of the end markets that he has actually developed because he was able to invest in the recycling infrastructure and show the regional players, hey, these are the commodities that I can create with my recycling plant. Are you interested in talking more about using my commodity or combining it with a different commodity to make a new product, which is also being done by this customer and other customers of ours. And as far as internal change, I mean, there's always folks that don't like change, but you just have to continue to anchor to the vision and mission and why we're doing what we're doing, and spend time listening to people's concerns and or resistance and working through it.
Yeah. Has there been any like specific data point that you think is most successful at changing minds? I mean, I know that at Coke, if you wanted to change anybody's mind, you needed to use consumer insights. That's what people were always after.
Yeah, I think consumer insight's always helpful. I mean, at the end of the day, I've told our folks here for a long time, I don't write your paycheck. I don't write my paycheck. Our customers do. If we're not listening to our customers and their needs and responding and acting accordingly, then why are we a company, and why are we trying to do viable things as viably in the marketplace? We have to listen to what our customers need and then try and do our best to adopt to and support their needs.
Yeah, love that. So, this is, I think, all very helpful advice for people leading change and in the sustainability space. But maybe could you just give, like, we try to bring into the show practical sort of advice and tips. So if you had to narrow it down to like three or so practical tips for someone stepping into or leading uncomfortable change, what would it be?
Yeah, I think number one is you're never going to make everyone happy. You can make a decision where 50% of people agree or disagree, and then 50% of the people may care or not care. So you're always going to have someone unhappy. You can't be stuck on I have to please everyone and make everyone happy. You have to get insight from your customers, your colleagues, your suppliers, your vendors, all the stakeholders, and make the best decision and try and implement it or run with it. And then also know that you're going to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes and then pivot and change as you need to, would definitely be one tip. Second tip would be, and I've learned this and we've learned this, focus on a few things, try and do them well, and then go to the next few. Even with us internally here at Vively, sometimes we have great ideas. We can ideate with the best of them. But we then get lost on, well, we're trying to implement too much change at once, trying to do too many things at once. So boiling it back down to one or two or three things, whether it's a quarter or an annual initiative, et cetera, and try and be disciplined. That is also harder and harder to do in today's fast-paced world and change. Because, like I said earlier, listening to our customers, what do they need? If we're constantly having to adopt for their needs, it creates internal turmoil and internal change that we have to constantly evaluate. How do we achieve it to stay relevant and, hopefully be on the leading edge of what we're doing?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the hardest things because it can feel sometimes like we don't have enough time, like we need to be moving faster. But yet, if you're trying to do too much, then you don't sort of achieve anything, right? You're like, I can't make any progress because I'm spread too thin.
Hmm.
And then that gets back to, I think, the point you were making earlier about understanding the vision and the mission so that you can sort of at least know you're moving that thing forward, so you don't lose the passion and the drive and get burnt out.
Yeah, change is tough, and there's lots of running a business in 2026 is not easy. There's uncertainty in the world, there's constant change in the world, and that leads to a certain level of challenge when you're trying to implement your own change against change that's unwanted or unwarranted and out of your control.
Yeah, definitely. just going to say back a couple of things that I think you shared that were really valuable. One is I love this idea of breaking it down to take care of the days as this like building block. If you focus on one day at a time, sort of be in the moment, it can help make sure the rest of the year is better, right? So if you're not too overwhelmed by all of the things you're trying to do, but you're just focused on making today a great day.
Hmm.
Sometimes when my kids wake up in a bad mood, I play Good Day by Nappy Roots just to get
Okay,
them to reframe.
that's
It's
an
going to be a
old
good
old
day.
old song by an old group.
Yeah, I know.
I'll steal that tip because I have young children too, and children can get moody.
They really, really can. Um, you also shared about fostering this sense of education. And I do think like sustainability and circular economy and all of this work does come with, I like to say, it comes with a lot of homework because things are changing constantly and there's so much information out there to absorb. And there's so many trade offs in the sustainability and circular economy space to navigate. So it's a great reminder to sort of foster this idea around education and how you're using that to develop talent. Also, a reminder around U.S. in markets. There's a lot of in markets out there that are being developed not on in the U.S. and EPR is trying to fund more investment in the United States to drive an in market, and that the key thing I think that you brought up is that that's gonna require a lot of collaboration, that, you know, if your company is interested in looking for ways to divert, you might have to come up with your own in market and or collaborate with others that are sort of working on something and then sort of redirect and make that viable for your waste stream, which is I think there's the waste industry, like you shared, is it can be a very welcoming space. The recycling and waste industry can be a very welcoming place, and you get excited and like nerdy about it really fast, I think. But it can also be hard to collaborate because you're dealing with every state has their own like requirements. Every municipality has their own requirements, and it can feel difficult to kind of navigate all of this
Hmm.
nuance, right? So it's great to hear examples of collaboration coming together and finding new pathways. And I think we talked about like just that example of the permit length. There's so many of these little examples of little things sort of crippling progress in the recycling industry. I think the idea of like being focused on what's locally the challenge and trying to make change where you can. And that you can't make everyone happy, which is very true all the time. You really can't. Learning that more and more every day. It's a good reminder. And then something that I struggle with is focus, being focused and disciplined, and how powerful that can be in helping make progress and then sort of celebrating that progress as you're going along. So, yeah, that was a lot of great insight. So, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for the recap. It's a good industry to be in, and if you do some good every day and get your people focused on doing some good every day and why we're doing it, the industry will hopefully be a little better every day, and we'll see people recycle more, learn more, and you got to want to be curious if you're in this industry. You got to know why recycling happens and how it happens, and is there a better way to do something? And it really doesn't matter what role you have in the industry because every company has people at all levels and in so many different roles and job titles that are necessary to make the engine that is the industry go.
Yeah. And I think somebody said once they're hoping that eventually, you know, it's just how you do business and eventually like you are create enough of a circular economy that our jobs don't need to exist anymore because it's baked into the business. And that's I think that the hope is that it becomes just the license to operate. Comes from the willingness to divert your uh waste from landfill, right?
Yeah, I think continuing to educate people will hopefully naturally create more muscle memory and just societal normality in terms of, hey, I'm going to go find the bin to put the bottle or the can, or I'm not just going to chuck it in the trash can. I'm going to, seek out an alternative.
Yeah. And I think though it's what you guys are doing is like working with companies to divert because we need it at a macro scale, right? It needs to be the way that everything has a path out of landfill and that it's not just on the person throwing it away, that it's on the way you operate, right?
Oh yeah, habits have to be created in the entire value chain, not just by one stakeholder, but by all.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you. It's a great conversation.
Yeah, it was great to chat with you, Christine, and thanks for having me on. And best of luck with the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Change Cycle. We hope that today's conversation inspires you to embrace the change that comes with building a world where circularity and social equity power the economy. Visit csyimpact.com to learn more about how you can implement sustainable strategies in your business. That's csyimpact.com. Thanks again, and we look forward to having you join us next time on Change Cycle.